Thank you very much, Godson, for that amazing presentation. I think one of the things I loved was the departure from how Parkinson was. He used more descriptions and he used colors to give a presentation. And thank you very much for that. So we have a question here. How do you define a successful exhibition?
How do what?
How do you define a successful exhibition?
Oh, I think I already did. I said it's resonance and immersion. Now I'll put it this
Mm,
way: moment okay, I'll give you an example. Um, I worked with someone last year, and he told me the reason why I will leave the gallery I'm working with and work with you is because my work sell, but I don't feel people that come to the gallery hear what I'm saying. Now, get me. He said my works sell. He almost gets sold out there. But people that don't buy my mind. They are buying a commodity, a product. To the artist now, what is success? It's two ways. Know what they are saying, first of all, what has been prompting in their heart to make the work. And of course, sales then becomes after. First of all, resonance. Can you reinterpret what the artist did in their work to yourself and how it fits your life? That to the artist is gold. Anybody who makes work knows what I'm saying. When what I create becomes your own platform to see yourself, that's good for the artist. It starts from there, then it moves on to say. Hope that's clear.
yes, yes, it does. But maybe a follow-up question that I have. So how do you balance like it's important that the mind of the artist is also forward, it's also like soul and as well as making a profit in terms of creating an exhibition. So which one is more important and how do you find that balance? Because whether we like it or not, that money part is also important. So regardless of um what the artist wants in their hearts, I think the money is also important. So how do you find that balance?
You ask a question, which is more important, food or sleep?
Come I can't say. I think both of them are just as important.
My point exactly. That's my
Okay,
point.
okay,
My
okay.
point exactly. But you go towards the sleep by eating well, so you can sleep. If you don't eat, you will not be sleep. Do
Yeah,
you understand what I'm saying? It goes to, it's a
yeah.
nexus. It's a nexus. Once you can create resonance, you can create meaning, people can feel it, they will buy. If not now, they'll buy later.
Yeah,
But, you- but,
I think
but,
that that's
that's clear, right?
no a very brilliant answer. Like I have no results to that. I have no
Yeah.
results to that. So any more questions or comments for our speakers? They'll be very, very generous with that time. Thank you so much. Because I know that there's still a section to go. Any questions from anyone before we enter the fireside chat? It's just be 10, 15 minutes of Patrick and Godson talking to one another about challenges, their challenges in curation, the different philosophies, and their approaches to curation and the future of art curation in
Can I
general.
add this?
Yes, please, Godson.
Okay, so as an aside, just to because I've been very I learned a whole lot from my last exhibition. I learned so much from the last exhibition, I usually teach um art through scripture at the foundation every first Thursday of the month for 2 3 years right now, and I turned the lessons from the class and my experience into a book, and it's called Art and Scripture. It's not out yet, yeah, but everything I've shared with you came from those musings. You know, things I've learned, things I've written down about what it is to be in the art space. It's going to be out in the next 3 months, I guess, by God's grace. It's called Art and Scripture. When it's out, try because you can't rebuke and we've not taught things. And all of us have the patience to study and dig deep ourselves. I think the book could be a resource for people who are looking forward to having a mastery of what this art thing is, both artist, both curator, both patron, both buyer. So it's I'm just saying look out for it when it's out. It will help us answer some very strong questions that we are shy to ask sometimes. You cannot blame people when there is darkness, let us be out of that place. That's my summary. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for that, Godson. I look forward to that book and when it does come out. So if you can you stop sharing your screen so that the speaker can be back in focus. I mean, that's even true. This is a brilliant time to mention that Vastan has a podcast called the Blank Canvas Podcast. We would love to interview you for that. Maybe you have an episode with you. What? Sorry, I didn't hear that. Yes, you got seen. Like, but your book is about to come out. We would love to interview you. We'll sit down with you, talk about the book and what it's about, where people can buy it, and all of that.
Ask Emmanuel to find me, he'll find me.
Oh, no problem. It's settled then. It's settled then. Thank you. Is that a question? Okay, just an observation. Someone said from your presentation, it means that for you, art is a spiritual thing.
Not for me. Art, let me put it this way, art is heaven's suggestion, heaven's, the divine's way of connecting the body of man back to his soul. A few of us are blessed with the ability to interpret emotions into visuals, into things you can handle or you can hear. It's not a mistake, it's not a coincidence, it's an endowment. Take it to scripture. God said, and the Spirit of God was upon Aholiab and Bezalel. There is a spirit that comes upon somebody that makes them to interpret their trauma and their pain into a picture. And that picture now has energy to heal somebody or make them see himself in it. That's spiritual, man. I can go deeper. In the book, he explains even more art and scripture, how you can sieve out a curriculum for your art practice through the scripture. It's deep like that, but let's stay here. Let's stay
No,
here.
no problem. I guess we'll get into more of that on the episode of the podcast. I look forward to having that interview with you.
No, no, it's okay. It's fine. Just ask
Okay,
the manual.
no problem. Please, can you stop sharing your screen?
Okay, cool.
Also, Patrick, do we have you there?
Sure, I'm here.
Thank you. Thank you so much for biding the time and still being with us. So I think maybe I will just we'll go in a question and answer format to speed this along and make it have a bit of some structure. So I'll come to you, Patrick, first. What are some of the challenges you faced in the process of curating art in your history? What you're even doing right now? What are some of the challenges that you faced
Please repeat the question. What are the challenges I've faced?
in the process of curation, the process of curating art?
Oh, okay. Um, it's an important question. Um, the, the main challenge I face and keep facing is finding alignment with the artists, with the sometimes the artists are represented by a gallery who want who want to hire both my space and myself as a curator to bring to life what they are doing, what they want to see. And the challenge is to align my values, um, the values and philosophies of Didi Museum, what we stand for, with their expectation, and that could be super challenging. I think I am mostly joyful when I I I meet or an artist comes and this artist already embodies that uh, direction that I hold or the museum holds in mind. But in times when there is this uh, difference, what I try to do is to walk through conversations with them. And through that conversation, we both begin to come to a common ground of understanding and direction where we are much more aligned and in harmony without one compromising their stand in terms of what they believe deeply in. That's been it so far, anyways.
Okay.
Does
All
that
right.
answer?
Yeah, yes, it certainly does. So Godson, to you, what are some challenges that you face? Because I mean, even going from your presentation and what you've been sharing with us so far, it's important for you to have that vision come through. So what are some of the challenges you face? There maybe some pushback from the artists or some pushback from the galleries or the people that you are involved with in the curating process. What are some of the challenges that you face now in curating arts?
Okay, mine has been because for now we don't have a brick and mortar space as a gallery. It's been trying to shop ideas to galleries who can see your vision. And when you bring the big artists to them, who trust you, who you worked for like a decade, they play commercial. They want to they want to silence you in a way and tell you dangle a small fraction of of profit to you, like you do nothing. That's a challenge, you know. That's a challenge. And you cannot really blame them because there is no assurance of sale. They must also keep their numbers as low as possible and not go to limit. So I'm saying it's a reality, it's not a problem, it's a challenge. It's not a problem, it's a challenge. So it gives us room to find new ways to raise the right funds and have our own space and then incubate the right ideas. So for me, I don't see it as a problem. I see it as reality of what's on ground, and I have to rise above it, and find ways to make what's possible possible. Besides that, of course, artists, and like I said, artists are fickle. Artists are emotional. You must learn how to. You must. In fact, I had to read certain books to help me understand how to deal with not just people, with artists. You have to learn how to calm, how to be honest, because artists have gone through lots of pain by collectors. And when you show up and say you're a curator, they are fidgety, they are not, they are afraid. Are you a user or are you the real deal? So you have to sell yourself, sell your heart as well too, sell your honesty as well too. It's not a problem. It's a challenge to overcome. That's where I see it. So two things, yeah, we don't have the space yet, and that makes it difficult to do shows often as possible. So you have to get an idea, shop it around galleries, check that schedule, and find where to put you into, and then work with you based on their terms. It's teaching problems, just looking at a gallery. So it's there. But besides that, also, I learned something that Nigerian collectors don't just buy the art, they buy the gallery. I'll explain. The owners of galleries determine what sells as well. So you can show some works in gallery A, do all you want to do in gallery A to sell. Do the same thing in gallery B to sell. Galleries have a way to connect to their audience. So you think when you come to a space, all you see there are people that come. No, those who buy are loyal to a gallery. So the first thing you must do is to create an audience that trusts your vision, that trusts what you're doing. And that goes along with people's skill. People buy for different reasons. And this is what hurts the artist sometimes. Like you bought my work, but you know what I'm doing, but they're not buying just the work alone. They're buying it for camaraderie. They're buying it for patronage. They're buying it for to be in a league. They're buying it to show their friends they also have your work as well. So there's a lot of things that go into buying an artwork and gallery work. So things you learn over time, but it's not a problem. It's a challenge that you can overcome. So if it's there, it means that there's something I don't know that I have to know that help me overcome it. So I'm in that space where I'm like, you know what, this is what's happening right now. I can alter it by wisdom, by knowledge, by increasing my capacity to understand what's going on. So that's how I see it. Not a problem per se, it's our reality. And it can work in your favor as well too.
Thank you very much for that, Godson. That was a very insightful answer. Okay, so to the next question. Um, I think we just say we got in before we now go back to Patrick. We just go in a round roundabout format. So, where do you think the future of African art and curation in Africa is going? You can use Nigeria as the main focus of the answer, but I'd just like to know that where do you think it is going, and where do you see African art and curation of African arts to be in the next, say, 5 to 10 years?
Is a question for me or Godson?
No, it's actually to both of you, but you can go ahead, Patrick.
Oh, okay. Yeah, African art is making a strong wave on the global scene. We see that a lot in the entertainment industry, especially music, and then there is Nollywood as well, gradually picking up in that regards. Now, in terms of the dimension of art and culture, that is also progressively gaining grounds. We see that a lot in the form of the interest the West is having in uh, in our material arts, like the Adire fabric. There's a great deal of interest in that in the Ashoke as well. And not just that, even in our indigenous symbols, like the Adinkra symbols, the Sankofa symbols, all these symbologies are using this as motifs. Although I do have a concern around that aspect, because there we are now exploring the concern of what you call indigenous or cultural appropriation, but that's a different conversation anyways. But to look at it on a milder scale, there's a growing interest in African culture, African art, and the meanings and what it holds. And there are brands that already use some of these symbols in them. So what I'm saying in effect is that progressively there is a future for African art. But my concern still remains, and bringing it back to cultural appropriation, remains that art should not be only, and please, when I say this, I don't mean that I don't I don't like money or I don't want money. I do. Money is important, funding is important. But my concern is that these things become um, a money-making venture as opposed to a healing of the African consciousness. And that healing part is so important if we must grow as a people, as a nation, and as a continent. When we look at continents like the Asian continents, where there have been a strong preservation of their culture and the allowance of technology, economics, and politics to grow within the cultural context. We see how amazing that they have performed and how that they reflect a, 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 should I say, standard of being, that it is possible for you to be very cultural or connected to your own identity and yet be advanced as a society. You can speak your own indigenous language and yet be highly advanced. So those are the things, and for me, I think that is more important than having our culture. I mean, our arts and our culture being another means of making money globally. I don't know, I can't remember the data now, but a lot of monies that is made through Afrobeat is not coming back into the continent. Wallahi, that is a sad reality. It's not coming to the continent, you know. And I don't want that to be the same with our art, because that is another path which can become our realities. I'll give an example. So one day I was while in the museum, this white man, he should be in his 80s. He walked in so braggadociously, like somebody who owns the place, It's like another explorer that has come to a dark continent to see what he can get. And he had these two young Nigerians with him. They were more like his tour guide, and he was looking at some of the artifacts we had, this copper artifacts that were, I think, of 18th century. And the man saw this and said, I want to buy this. And I told him that these are artifacts. They are not for sale. These are our permanent collections. The only thing we sell here are contemporary works. And he insisted to buy it. And I told him, this is not for sale. Now, do you know, he went ahead to ask. I don't know what manipulation this man was to play, but he went ahead to ask, if you want to sell it, how much will you sell it to me? So in a way, he was asking me to name my price, So, and this is going to be a huge challenge, honestly, because there are many important works that are. So one thing I teach through my work is that artifacts are documents. They are documents. They are visual historical documents or records from which we can learn. It's just like the books from which we can learn about a society, a community, a way of being. And here's this person not caring about where it is coming from and its relevance, but ownership. So that is the problem. And but besides that, if we can retain custodianship of what we have, and when I say retaining, I don't mean not permitting transactions. Of course, transactions can happen, but within a context of not losing what we have, our value and all. Why not? We are going far in this. Lastly, also, I did learn that some Ghanaians are taking proactive steps in trademarking the Kente design and symbol. That could bring up a lot of questions. Is it right? Is it not right? Etc. But I also see that what they are doing is a way of protecting or preserving what we have. you know. Um, in terms of global trademarking, that is a whole different kind of scam at play. Once a nation or a company trademarks a design, it doesn't matter where it indigenously comes from. They are the ones that can profit and keep profiting from that design wherever in the world. And that is a sad reality. So I think that is smart. And I think that many of us should begin to wake up to take the steps of preserving what we have, so that we don't end up losing both our culture and even the economic value of it to these guys out there. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for that lovely answer, Patrick. Thank you so much. Godson, please, to you.
Please, can you repeat it again, please? Let me get the question again.
Yeah, I was asking that what do you see the future of arts in Africa and curation of African arts? Where do you see it heading? And in the next 5 to 10 years, where do you see Africa's African art, its place in the art world? Where do you see it as?
Okay, I like to go first principle on things. And in that sense, I mean, many artists that are in school right now, they have this gift of mark making and rendering ideas on canvas, but they have no idea who they are. What I mean is this: you have people who are even at master level, they work 30 years of their life trying to represent things and they sell, they make money and everything, but deep within them, they don't know their visual philosophy. They don't know what makes, how their story, their history, their memory helps them to create art. Before we think of the future of what art is in 5 years, can we go back to, am I working from the point of view of who I have known myself to be? Is my work a summary of my journey so far? And what am I saying to the world through my work? We find artists who today who follow trend, and things. And once a trend happens, because they can paint, they've been painting all their life or for over a decade. They can replicate even something even genius from there. But somewhere deep inside the artist's mind, they know they have coming short. Their work is not a release for them themselves. I think the next 5 years is a re-education of the artists themselves, Africans themselves, not for sale, but to find who they are. They are the root of themselves. If you find who we are, who your work is, who you speak for, why you do what you do, how it affects your history and where it's going to in the future, then we have a body of intellectuals who paint, who draw, who do stuff, and that becomes a resounding orchestra to the world. But we don't have artists who are going through schools who do not really teach them to find who they are in themselves. They spend years, 10 years. I interview master what we call master artists. What we call master artists are people who have spent 10, 20 years in the business. That doesn't make you a master. You just protracted apprenticeship. Do you know who you are? Who do you speak for? Why do you do what you do? They can't explain to me. They're asking God to help me get this right. We must find ourselves. And do you know why this happens? We don't work in clusters. We don't work in communities. We work independently. And when we do that, we see that our works are similar. But when we take on a subject and we know who we are, our works will be different. The next 5 years is not basically about getting the world going outward. It's about going inwards. We must go inward to know who we are, first of all. What is your visual identity? Can you trace it? Can you study your work yourself and see how you have come so far? What do you share with the world? It's easy to find. People spend 5, 7, 8 years. I consult for artists, and when I do that, they like, oh my God, what have I been doing? When we all have the same collective knowledge about who we are, how to trace it, how to find it in our work, our art practice becomes more enjoyable. When the money comes, it becomes even more fulfilling because money cannot cure a lack of self and how it enters your work. Those are things that I think the next 5 years should be about. It's about digging deep inside the heart of the African because we are most polluted than ever before because we are taking ideas Russians, from Americans, from Koreans. They're all doing amazing stuff, and it makes us enticed to create things like them. But no, you are going to go inward first. With that with that background, you now create a new information and show us how you see the world. We must go back inwards to go outside. That's my summary.
Thank you very much, Kelsey. Thank you so much for that answer. I think we'll take one more question from the chat before we round up. I mean, I just want to say again to our speakers, I know that we've gone across the time that we allotted for this, and I'm very grateful that very grateful for for you guys sticking with us throughout. So one last question before we close out this wonderful episode. What do you guys think? I think we'll come to Patrick first. What do you think about the creating conversations on international collaborations and its impact on cultural custodianship in art spaces?
What do we think about what do we think about creating conversations on international collaborations and its impact on cultural custodianship in art spaces? This is a powerful question, to be honest with you. I really desire that we keep having this kind of questions. This question in itself is a question of us actually having I mean, how do I put it? This question in itself reflects what I just said previously. Um, International collaborations are beautiful. International collaboration gives the artist um, a broader awareness or knowing, and experience, and yeah, wider pedestal. But international collaboration could also be a basis on which a person could lose their soul. I mean, in regards to losing the essence of or the depth of what's of their storytelling, their narratives. Now, it is important that we approach international collaboration with intention, just as my conversation has been curating with intention. It's important we approach it with intention, and that is asking questions, the same questions I raised about who is benefiting from this, what is the art against or for? Who is this art curating with? All of those questions, very important. Now, why this is important is that it opens the eyes of the artist or the curator to the dangers ahead and how to negotiate those dangers. How to negotiate those dangers, because that is possible. We see artists or people who start with good intentions, and over time, the money becomes the goal. And that is all they live for. And one will begin to see in the soullessness in the work. That is when you look at the work, the same resonance you felt when you look at, say, their works of 3 years ago, 5 years ago, it's no longer there. You can see a work that shows mastery in terms of skill, but lacks a soul, that lacks that grounding and spirit. So we see that happen, and that is a high possibility for anyone, especially when the money begins to come. So it's important that we have these conversations. And I like what Godson talked about with regards to community. Man, brother, community is important for us as Africans, as Nigerians. Community is important, and community is something that more and more is lacking in spaces. I really wish that galleries also can be intentional about building communities, and that we as a cultural, as an art industry, can see ourselves as a broader community and intentionally collaborate. And the collaboration doesn't necessarily have to be exhibitions per se, it can be that, but about coming together to have these conversations as a community, as an organism. So these things are important, to drive and preserve custodianship of our culture. I hope I've answered the question.
Yes, you have. Thank you so much, Patrick. Godson, should I take the question again? Or
It's fine, it's fine, it's fine. I'll take it from two angles. There was once Festac 77, and it was a place where African countries or people of African descent came together and expressed how they see themselves with the ethos of Black Pride, as it were. You know, it showed a marker for after going through slavery and everything. Africans now know who they are. We now know what our place in the world is. It was a bunch, it was a loud bunch. We have that kind of narrative. How do I put it again in a different way? Why do we have things like the World Cup for football? For football? Why do we have things like inter club matches? You know, it starts first of all by being solid in your identity as a person or as an artist. That way, when you look at your neighbor's field, you now see how distinct you are from them and appreciate the beauty of your integrity even more. Yes, we should encourage those things, but not until we have solidly in our own pride, in who we are, in whose we say we are. Because such things now becomes a way to enjoy our difference, enjoy what makes us unique, enjoy those things, not a diffusion point, but a place of appreciation of our difference. That's where I think it should be. Yes, we should encourage those things to come together, but then to admire what makes us unique. That I don't someday go show my work abroad and art historian tells me that this work was by a particular long dead artist and he can trace his work in my work. That's sad, you know. That's the way I see it. We must encourage it, but until we have found the integrity of who we are, I can call names of artists who, when you put their work side by side with anybody in the world, there is a demarcation, and there's now like a connection. There's now like a feasting of being individual. We're not individuals yet, in my opinion. We are still copying processes, forms, ideas. So when we wash to the national space, we have no voice. We have no voice. We are saying nothing because we are just using their works to practice our work as our work. It should be practiced, not your work. So we should do that only when there's a strong resonance of who you are in your work. Else in this tweet it, snap it, post it world, you will see what you are doing someone else's work somewhere out there. And whose shame would that be? That's my look of it. Why do countries have jerseys, national flag, national anthem, and why do clubs have jerseys, national anthems and stuff? Clubs now, they're saying we are not you, we are not me, but when we meet, we find what makes us unique, or enjoy each other. Now we are too, for me, from how I observe things, we are too washed together with stuff. We're not. Let me put it this way. Many of us are not so. I want to look for a very, very, very soft word to use. We've not found our first name, much less our last name with our work. So if I go outside and you call me God now, say no, I'm God. Just call me just call me son. No, I'm Godson Ukaegbu. If I go out there, nobody in the world will have the same way I pronounce my name because I'm sure of who I am. When I go abroad and I will now, you're not asking, where are you from? I'll tell you depths of my heritage, depths of my personhood. And I ask you as well, where are you from? We now enjoy our differences. Or what do you like to eat? Those kind of things are not in our art yet, majority of our art yet, I dare say. So when we do international stuff, we struggle. We struggle. They might buy your work because it's familiar to them, but are you yourself? Someone else can paint what you painted, even in a better way. Can you paint what is true to you? What is true to who you have found yourself to be? Can you take that time and just research about who you are first of all in the quiet of your art space of your workshop? Who am I? Why do I make art? Who am I speaking for? These are things to ask before we now start moving outward. That's my point of view.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that answer. So we have come to the end of this lovely, lovely episode. My gratitude and my thanks to Godson and Patrick for their time, for their knowledge, for their wisdom, and for imparting us with a lot of knowledge. This will be uploaded to Vascan's YouTube channel by tomorrow. It will be divided into three parts. So Patrick's part will be separate, Godson's part will also be separated, and then the last half of this where we did Q&A and the fireside chat will also be separated so that you guys can be able to, and anybody that wants to watch it can be able to focus on the parts that actually appeal to them and they can get the knowledge that they need. Because I think if the video is 2 hours, 2 hours plus, they might run away because of the length or something like that. But I think it is better if you just split it up and then have people just consume that knowledge in bits. Thank you so much to the people that sent in their questions. I think the speakers love the questions. Yes, okay, let me drop the link to the YouTube channel right now. You can go and subscribe. Once it is out, um you just get the notification you can just subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so that once the video comes out tomorrow, you'll be alerted. So please make sure you grab the link before we close out the meeting, just so that you don't miss out on it. Like I said, this is the seventh episode of our webinar. You can go back and check episode 1 to 6. We also have a podcast where we are speaking to gallery owners, curators, and people in the arts industry. Our first episode came out last week. We sat down with the CEO of Gemini Arts Gallery, Mr. Raphael Akinyere. And then the next episode is coming out next week, where we sat down with Mrs. Miyabu Enyadike. So, like I said, Godson, you made a promise to us that you feature one of our episodes. I look forward to that conversation as well. Thank you so much once again to Godson and Patrick. That'll be all from me. I don't know if the speakers have any last words before we close out the call.
It's been a beautiful session. I'm glad to be part of it, and I hope that our curators and artists will learn to approach their practice with more intention. Thank you.
Thank you. Regards to the studio. Godson, any last words, please?
Yeah, thanks to everyone at Vascan for what you do. You guys are doing an amazing job. Keep it up. The space needs it. And I hope this conversations spark us to do more, to do better, and find who we are really, dig deep into who we are, create work that is honest to us that can change the world and heal people. The world is going haywire by the minute, but the artists have been blessed with the courage to change that narrative. So yeah, all the best ahead.
Yes, thank you so much for your kind words, Godson. It feels good to know that people are listening, people are watching, and that people are benefiting from what Vascam is doing. So thank you once again to the gallery. Thank you once again to our speakers. We'll catch you in the next edition of the Blank Canvas webinar next month. Thank you and have a lovely weekend. Bye.